Okay, good afternoon. It's 2:10, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. Let's begin with the roll call of the commission members. After each commission member replies, please reply here and present and confirm that you can see and hear me. Commissioner Ponce.
I'm here. I can hear you and see you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hughes.
Present, I can see and hear you.
Excellent, thank you. And I think that's it for today. In 2020, Governor Pritzker signed Public Act 101-0640, making certain amendments to the Open Meetings Act so that we, along with other boards and commissions, can continue to host virtual meetings during COVID-19 public health emergency, provided that certain conditions are met. One of those conditions is that Chairman Wong of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks determines that an in-person meeting of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks and its permit review committee are not practical or prudent. Chairman Wong is determined pursuant to Section 7E2 of the Open Meetings Act that an in-person meeting of this Commission on Chicago Landmarks and its permit review committee is not practical or prudent. He is also determined pursuant to Section 7E5 that because of the disaster as declared by the governor, it is infeasible for at least one member of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks or its chief administrative officer or its chief legal officer to be physically present at the meeting place for either meeting in as much as there is no physical meeting place. Pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Commission on Chicago Landmarks on June 4, 2020, regarding the chairman's emergency rulemaking powers, Chairman Wong issued emergency rules governing the conduct of remote public commission meetings and provisions for remote public participation effective February 18th, 2022. These rules were adopted on the Commission's website and posted on the Commission's website. In line with these emergency rules, today's regular permit review committee meeting is a virtual meeting being simulcast to the general public via live streaming. Permit review committee meetings have been held virtually since May of 2020. Meetings are structured to minimize the chances for technical difficulties. Members of the general public have been encouraged to submit written statements in advance of this meeting, and these have been posted on the Commission's website and are available for public view during the virtual meeting at www.chicago.gov/ccl. Per the emergency rules, verbal statements by the general public for all agenda items will take place at the beginning of the meeting so that all those wishing to speak at today's meeting should be signed in to the Zoom meeting at this time. Before we hear staff presentations on the agenda items and ask to hear from owners or applicants and their teams, we will open the floor to members of the general public who wish to comment about the items to be heard on today's agenda. Members of the public wishing to comment should use the raise hand function of Zoom to indicate that they wish to speak. Members of the public not using a smartphone or computer and instead phoning in to the meeting should press *9 to activate the raise hand function and do the same to deactivate it. I or the meeting facilitator will call out the names one by one and unmute those people. Once unmuted, speakers should give their full name and organization, if any they represent. Each speaker is allocated 3 minutes to speak. Once all members of the public wishing to make a comment have been given the opportunity to do so, we will go through the agenda. I would ask that owners or applicants and their representatives, as well as aldermen, wait to speak until after the staff presentations have been made on their agenda item. I'd like to go through the agenda items to allow for public comment at this time. First is agenda item 1, the project at 838 North Hermitage. Are there any members of the general public wishing to speak on this item? Tech support?
Chairman, there are no hands raised.
Great, thank you. There are no folks looking to speak on this item, so we'll move on to agenda item 2, the project at 30.
Nick,
yes?
sorry, I'm the owner of 838
Okay.
property.
Well,
I'm here, but I think that also my architect should be also in a meeting.
are you looking to make a public comment or waiting to?
No,
Okay.
I just want to say that I'm here.
Oh, great, excellent.
Okay.
Okay. No members of the public like to speak on this item, so we're going to move to agenda item 2 for the public comment portion, the project at 3360 South Giles. Are there any members of the general public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll move to agenda item number 3, the project at 2028 to 2062 North Clybourne. Are there any members of the general public wishing to speak on this item?
Chairman, we have Mr. Ward Miller.
Okay, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission and the Permit Review Committee. I'm Ward Miller. I'm Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. We at Preservation Chicago fully support the proposed one-story rooftop addition to the landmark Ludlow Typographic Company located at 2028 to 2062 North Clybourne Avenue in the 2nd Ward, Alderman Hopkins Ward. We are very pleased to support this restoration and renovation along with a reuse effort as an excellent example of a great commitment to the Clybourne corridor and a wonderful project. With that said, we also want to encourage the ownership and developer, the Annexation LLC, to continue with such exciting preservation projects looking to the future, which engage our city's collection of great historic industrial buildings. This is really a wonderful project all along, and it really does represent so many different agencies and people coming together to really create a marvelous outcome here on Clybourne, in the Clybourne corridor, which has seen so many demolitions over time for strip malls and developments that are more automobile oriented and really sort of turning away from its historic past and also its pedestrian qualities that it once had. So this is a marvelous project. Commend the team and ownership in their second project here in this corridor that engages historic building and a historic development. And we look forward to seeing many, many, many more of these by the same development team and ownership. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Miller. I don't see anyone else looking to speak on item 3. So finally, we'll go to agenda item 4, the project at 2205 West Iowa. Are there any members of the general public wishing to speak on this item?
Chairman, I don't see any hand raised.
Okay, excellent. Seeing none, I think that's all the members of the general public who have indicated that they wish to speak. Therefore, this concludes the public comment portion of the meeting, and we will now go through the agenda. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, or the regular meeting of March 3rd, 2022. And I'd like to request a motion to approve the minutes for March 3rd, 2022. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Ponce moves. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Hughes.
Commissioner Hughes seconds, and I'm a yes, and the motion carries unanimously. The minutes are approved and will be posted on the commission's website. First project is 838 North Hermitage. In the 1st Ward, Alderman La Spada, the East Village District, the proposed new construction of a masonry coach house with 3-car garage at the rear of the lot located on the corner of Hermitage and Pearson. And like to call on Joyce Ramos for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since 2021, the additional dwelling unit ordinance has allowed for the creation of ADUs in 5 Chicago areas, including the Northwest Zone, which this property is located in addition to providing a path for the creation of naturally occurring affordable housing. This ADU program includes several affordability provisions and allows ADUs in attics, basements, and accessory buildings. The subject property is located at the southeast corner of Hermitage Avenue and Pearson Street. At the front of the lot is a 2-story red brick flat that was constructed in 1889. There is currently a two-car non-historic garage located at the rear of the lot that is accessed from the alley off of Pearson Street. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing garage and build a new coach house constructed of brick that matches the size and color of the red face brick on the front facade of the main house. Staff recommends approval of the brick cladding as proposed, and samples of the proposed brick should be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to order and installation. Solid wood double hung windows are proposed to be installed on the north elevation that faces Pearson Street on the first and second floors, with arched brick header courses above and precast cells below. This follows the window type and masonry detailing of the main house. The east elevation that faces the main house will have a man door on the first floor with steel stairs that lead up to the second floor, which also features double hung windows. The west elevation that faces the alley will have a 24-foot wide by 7-foot tall overhead door. And staff recommends that the garage door shall have a panel design, and a cut sheet for the door shall be provided with the permit application. The roof will be clad with asphalt shingles to match the main house. And there are a number of historic brick 2-story coach houses within the district. And the proposed height and location is not out of character or will not have an adverse impact to the historic characteristics of the district. The proposed project is approved as shown on the submitted drawings dated March 24th, 2022. And the commission takes no position regarding any requested variance or adjustment relative to the zoning code requirements. Alderman LaSpada's office is aware of the project. And this concludes my presentation. The owner and the architect are also here. If there are any questions, thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Any questions for Joyce before we hear from the applicant? Seeing none, let's hear from the applicant. Is it Victor Dropshow?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my name is Victor Dropshow. I'm the architect of record. Nick is actually the owner. I think you've heard from him just a while back. So we have worked with the landmark department to create this ADU ordinance structure, and just happy to get this going.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the commission for the architect or the owner? Seeing none, I think this is maybe our first ADU coming through landmark, so that's pretty interesting. I think we're ready to go to, if there's no more discussion, I think we're ready to go to make a motion on this item to accept the staff recommendation. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I agree. This is our first one since I've been serving anyway, and this is exciting to see because I know kind of the premise behind it is to bring affordability back to the city. So kudos to the owner and the architect, and so moved for the motion.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Motions, do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Ponce, seconds. And I'm also a yes, and the motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, and looking forward to seeing this ADU built. Moving on to the next item, 3360 South Giles in the 4th Ward, Alderman King, Hermitage, Halsted District. The proposed new 2-story single-family residence and a detached 2-car garage. And Joyce Ramos for the presentation again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Calumet Giles Prairie District, generally located on Calumet, Giles, and Prairie Avenues between 31st and 35th Streets, was designated a landmark district on July 13, 1988. The commission typically considers the immediate historic context, generally the block on which the property is located, in the evaluation of the compatibility of the proposed new construction. The subject vacant lot is located mid-block on the 3300 block of South Giles Avenue. Immediately north of the subject property is a 3-story multifamily building, and immediately to the south is a raised 2-story multifamily building. The historic buildings on the block are raised 2- and 3-story structures and range between 30 to 44 feet in height. The subject property is a lot 24 feet wide and 123 feet deep. The proposed building is 18 feet wide and 55 feet deep and will have a 15-foot 3-inch front yard setback with a 3-foot side setbacks on both sides. A detached 1-story 2-car garage is proposed to be located at the rear of the lot with alley access. The proposed new building is a raised two-story single-family residence. The first floor level is 5'4" above grade, which is within the range of the stoop heights of the historic buildings on the block. The proposed building is to be 28'8" tall to the top of the coping, which is lower than the immediately adjacent historic buildings on the block, which range between 37 feet to 43 feet tall. However, in the wider context of the district, there are other two-story historic buildings that are 30 feet or less, making the proposed height compatible within the district. The proposed front facade is clad with modular brick in the color Harvest, which is a range of orange hues. And the front facade is accented with smooth limestone at the coping, window head, sills, and water table. And the brick wraps around the side elevations 10 feet. The remainder of the side elevations and the rear elevations are clad in smooth fiber cement siding in an iron gray color. And since the side elevations would be visible, staff recommends to increase the length of the brick wrap on the side elevations to a minimum of 15 feet. The windows on both floors are 6 feet tall and feature gang double hung clad wood windows on the first floor and 3 separate double hung windows on the second floor. This window type, configuration, and size is consistent with the windows on the adjacent buildings. And staff finds that the proposed project is compatible with the historic character of the district and will not have an adverse effect on the significant historical and architectural features of the landmark district, and recommends approval of the project as proposed. Alderwoman Pat Dowell and the GAP Community Organization have reviewed the project and submitted letters of support, which were included in the packet. And this concludes my presentation. The property owner is also here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Joyce before we go to the applicant? Seeing none, let's hear from the applicant. Is it Tom Boney?
Yes, Tom Boney.
Excellent.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for reviewing the project. I'm just excited to get moving forward with it and happy to answer any questions if anyone has any further questions about it.
Thank you. Does any of the commission members have any questions for the owner at this time? Commissioner Hughes?
Yes, is there? Oh, never mind. I understand what I'm seeing now. The garage is offset from the main structure. Is that what I'm looking at this front elevation?
The garage is 20 feet width. The width is 20 feet, so it looks a little offset from the front, but I believe the standard garage plan is 20 by 20, which just puts it a foot wider than the house.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion points on this project, commissioners? Commissioner Hughes?
Sorry, I just have one other comment. I'm really excited that this project is replacing a vacant lot because I'm a Southside resident and I speak to it all the time. We need more of this. However, I do want to challenge us moving forward. There's so much kind of architectural rich history and detailing in the existing structures. And if we could kind of draw inspiration from that when we're creating these new structures, I just want to encourage that because I feel like we're kind of in this funk of doing whatever is the cheapest to get built and whatever is kind of most streamlined. And I want to challenge us to go beyond that.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Any other follow-up conversation? No, I think it's a good point. With that, I think we should, if there's no further discussion, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the staff recommendation. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I do support this. So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Hughes. Do we have a second?
Yes, you have a second.
Seconded by Commissioner Ponce, and I'm a yes as well. And so the motion carries unanimously. And thank you and good luck. The next project is 2028 to 2062 North Clybourne in the second ward, Alderman Hopkins. The proposed Ludlow Typograph Company building, the proposed new one-story rooftop addition, new exterior deck, and other changes to the previously conditionally approved rehabilitation project. And Joyce Ramos for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Ludlow Typographic Building was originally built in 1913 with several later additions. As conditionally approved by the Permit Review Committee in November 2021, the applicant proposed to revitalize the building into commercial and residential use with a new rooftop amenity spaces that include interior and exterior roof decks on the four-story portion of the building. The applicant is now proposing additional rooftop amenity spaces, including a one-story rooftop addition and deck that are to be utilized exclusively by the building residents. There are three proposed changes actually to the previously approved proposal, and shown on this slide are the elevation drawings of the facade that faces Clybourne Avenue. The image on the top shows what the facade currently looks like, and the image on the bottom shows the previously approved rooftop amenity space, shown here in the box in green. And the current proposed changes are shown in the red rectangles, dotted dash rectangle shown here. And this is the new rooftop amenity space, the new courtyard entry, and then the new food hall entry. And so the first one is a new one-story rooftop addition, which is proposed to be constructed on building 3, which is the 3-story portion of the building indicated on the roof plan, and then in the rendering shown here in the dashed rectangles. The portion of the roof currently has an existing brick stair and elevator enclosure, which is to remain. The proposed roof deck will provide building tenants with a shared space to congregate with indoor and outdoor kitchens, indoor and outdoor lounge spaces, and open lawn space and bathrooms. The proposed enclosed interior amenity space is 48 feet, 10 inches wide by 54 inches long, and will be set back 81 feet from the front facade. The exterior walls will be clad with dark metal panels, which will be installed directly above the existing walls on the northwest, southwest, and southeast facades. Large storefront systems will be installed on the northeast and southeast elevations. Historic preservation staff recommends that samples of the metal cladding to be reviewed for approval prior to ordering installation. The new outdoor amenity space will be surrounded by a glass guardrail that will be mounted to the roof on the interior side of the parapet. And staff recommends that details for the glass guardrails at the roof deck shall be submitted with the permit drawings. The top of the existing stair and elevator enclosure is currently 48 foot 8 inches above grade. And due to elevator manufacturer requirements, the height of the existing enclosure will need to be increased by 10 foot 4 inches. New brick to match the existing brick will be used to construct this extension. A ramp will connect this amenity space to building 4 as a second means of egress. And this ramp aligns with the edge of the outdoor residential deck, which is set back approximately 20 feet from the front facade. And then it turns northeast toward the front facade to then be located on the roof of the small narrow section that connects buildings 3 and 4 to ultimately provide access to the 4th floor of building 4. A new door will be installed at the end of the egress path to access building 4. Visibility studies with views provided from Clybourne Avenue were submitted for historic preservation staff review and were included in the packet. Staff believes that the portions of the rooftop addition that are visible from these vantage points are not distracting to the overall historic form of the building, since the addition is not visible on the primary facade. Compared to the previously approved addition, this new addition is set back further from the front facade. In contrast, the exterior walls of the previously approved are inside the existing parapet walls, while the exterior walls of this new addition is required to be built directly on top of the existing walls to line up with the existing structural grid. Additionally, it is clad in dark metal panels as opposed to red brick to match the building, to further differentiate it and not mistake it as part of the historic structure. As seen from the visibility studies looking northwest on Clybourne, the top of the new addition is minimally visible and blends in with the previously approved rooftop addition, which reduces the impact of the building roof line. The committee has approved some visible rooftop additions on industrial type buildings, which often had existing rooftop appurtenances that give them the varied roof line. Further, the scale of these large industrial buildings reduces the impact and adverse effect of new rooftop enclosures. In this case, the existing conditions of the Ludlow Typographic Company building roof already includes several historic rooftop appurtenances, such as overruns, stair enclosures, and chimneys that vary the roof line. The proposed addition will be minimally visible from the street and will not affect any significant features of the facade of the historic building or its roof line. And historic preservation staff recommends that the massing, siding, and configuration of the one-story rooftop addition is approved as proposed. The second change from the previously approved proposal that I want to mention is the new courtyard entry. 3 gang double hung windows were previously approved for the masonry opening on the facade that faces Clybourne Avenue, where an overhead door is currently installed. The applicant is now proposing to maintain the original opening, but make it an access point for both the residential lobby and the retail space. The existing non-historic overhead door would be removed to provide visual access from the street into the proposed landscape courtyard beyond. A new architectural screen is proposed to be installed inside of this opening to provide security, but also allow visibility into the courtyard. The design of the screen will reference the historic wood panel door that was originally in this opening, and also within this space will be new concrete stairs and ramps that lead up to the entrance doors. Historic preservation staff recommends approval for the revised entrance as proposed. And the last change is to provide a new entrance to the food hall. 4 gang double hung windows were previously approved for the masonry openings shown here in the northwest facade. The applicant is proposing to maintain the current masonry opening and infill it with 3 gang double hung windows and a door with an accessible ramp. And historic preservation staff recommends approval for this revised window and door configuration as proposed. The new 1-story rooftop addition, the new exterior deck, the new courtyard entrance, and the new entrance to the food hall are approved as proposed. A complete set of drawings showing existing conditions, proposed demolition, and proposed additions and alterations, including plans, elevations, sections, and details, shall be submitted for historic preservation staff for review and approval. Alderman Hopkins has reviewed the proposal and is supportive of the project. The North Branch Works also reviewed the proposal and submitted a letter of support. The architect and owners are also here if you have any questions, and this concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Commissioners have any questions for Joyce? Let's hear from the applicant, the applicant's architect, Mr. Farino.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. We're very excited to prospect of bringing this former industrial building back to life. We had done so down the street at the 2071 Southport Lofts building and are excited to continue that vocabulary here. We felt some refinement to the building, enhanced a lot of its features, and hope that you guys agree with that. So thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Do commissioners have any questions for Mr. Farino? I was just curious. What since we've seen this project a couple of times, just where are you with what's the timeline for this project in terms of going?
We've started, or we're completing interior demolition, and right now we're working towards a permit submission June 1st with hopes of commencing that work in August.
Oh, okay, great. Any other questions from commissioners? I think it's a nice project. I like some of the moves. I don't have any issues with the rooftop addition visually, and I really like the view into the courtyard. I think that really helps. That's going to be a nice feature from the street. Any other questions for commissioners' discussion before we go to motion?
I just would like to add what you just said, Commissioner Jakovich. I think it's a nice project, and congratulations to the architects for bringing life into this corridor and building. So it's a very nice project.
Thank you, Commissioner Ponce. All right. No further discussion. I'd like to make request a motion to approve staff recommendations. Do we have a motion?
So
Moved by Commissioner Ponce. Do we have a second?
Second, Commissioner Hughes.
Hughes with the second. And I am yes, and motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. And we are really looking forward to seeing this one completed. So good luck. The next project is 2205 West Iowa in the 2nd Ward. Ukrainian Village District. The proposed reconstruction of the front porch demolished due to condition issues with salvaged face brick and repairs to the existing front stair. And like to call on Joyce Ramos for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The subject property is a 3-story brick flat constructed in 1915. It features decorative brickwork patterns, stone accents, open front porches, and exposed stick framework at the gable. Historic preservation staff was informed by the Alderman's office that the brick porch on the front facade was removed. Currently, the work on the front facade has been halted until the issue of how to reconstruct the front porch is resolved through a permit revision. A permit was received and approved by Historic Preservation staff and was issued on January 11th, 2022. However, as previously mentioned, the front porch highlighted here in yellow was removed, which exceeded the scope of work of the permit. Due to structural condition issues uncovered after the start of work, it was determined that the front porch needed to be immediately removed. On March 23rd, 2022, Historic Preservation staff was informed by the Alderman's office that the brick porch on the front facade was removed. On March 24th, an inspector from the Department of Buildings visited the site and instructed the foreman to notify the architect of the change, and no work can be done to the front facade until this issue of how to reconstruct the front porch is resolved through a permit revision. On March 28th, Historic Preservation staff visited the site. It was also noted that the brick on the front porch was salvaged on site and appeared to be in good condition. The front porch should be reconstructed with the salvaged brick to match the design, location, brickwork pattern, and stone details. The salvaged brick is proposed to be used on the areas that will be visible from the exterior, and any new brick will be used, should be installed on the interior, which will be enclosed and not visible from the exterior. Historic Preservation staff recommends that if any new units will be required for the exterior, to provide a sample of the replacement brick that matches the historic in size, shape, color, texture, and finish. For Historic Preservation staff to review and approve prior to order and installation. On April 1st, the architect submitted the drawings, which is shown here on this slide, that address the porch reconstruction. And the drawings will need to be revised to include dimensions and material callouts. Additionally, the gable on the porch should match the size, shape, and location of the historic gable based on the scarring that remains on the brick. The following drawings should also be submitted in the permit application. Enlarged details that show the existing brick and new mortar, joint dimensions, brickwork patterns and stone trim, enlarged details of the lintel replacement, and enlarged details of the gabled wood porch roof, brackets, and trim. Staff recommends approval for the new scope of work with the conditions mentioned during this presentation and also listed here on this slide. Alderman Hopkins and the Ukrainian Village Neighborhood Association issued letters of support for the reconstruction of the front porch. And this concludes my presentation. If you have any questions about my presentation or for the architect and owner who are both here today, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Any questions for Joyce? At this time, I'm seeing none. Let's hear from the applicant's architect or the applicant representatives. John Hanna here.
Yeah, hello, this is John Hanna. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. So, you know, it was fairly obvious when they started work on the front porches. The concrete, the slab on top of the wood joist was all corroded away, and it was actually supporting the knee walls around the perimeters of the balcony. And you know, and after, and so they started taking the brick off, and the bricks just they were not bonded together at all, so it was in bad condition. And you know, if you go on the site, they have the lintels there. They removed them, and the bottom flange of the lintel was not even attached to the top of the lintel anymore. So, I mean, it was just a matter of probably days or weeks before there was some kind of a structural collapse. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Hanna. Any questions from the commissioners to Mr. Hanna? Commissioner Hughes?
I was going to ask, what percentage of the brick was salvaged so that you guys can reuse for the reconstruction of this front facade?
Is that something that, Joyce, did you mention that? You're on mute. Joyce, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I was going to ask if John or Russ, the property owner, if they knew that approximate number.
This is Hannah. I don't know the answer to that question, but I did see a good amount of brick on.
Is anybody can hear me? It's Roz here.
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
Russ, I can hear you.
Hello, commissioners. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I've been trying to reuse the up to the 100% of the bricks, so no changes at all.
Great.
Can you just introduce yourself, Russ?
Yeah, I'm the Russ project manager, and we are just asking you for the approve this project so we can go ahead and reconstruct the building to the regional view. So, speaking on the neighbor and the others' behalf, and also the community of Ukrainian community, so we can go ahead and proceed with this restoration as soon as possible. And we'll appreciate for all your support here.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Seeing none. It does look like, there, at least we have some very good photographs of this, and I'm sure that historic preservation staff will be watching the reconstruction closely, and it's good to know that much of the brick is there. So if there's no further discussion, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the staff recommendation for the project. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, motion to adopt staff recommendation.
Excellent. Commissioner Ponce has made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Commissioner Hughes.
Seconded by Commissioner Hughes, and I'm a yes. The motion carries unanimously. Let's get this rebuilt.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it for all your support.
Thank you very much, commissioners.
Thank you. And that concludes our projects for today. There being no further business, I'd like to request a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you,
Commissioner Hughes.
The trademark. Commissioner, do we have a second?
Yes, we have a second.
All right, and yes, so this motion carries unanimously, and we are adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
All right.